Hello, I want to thank you for joining us today. My name is Jerry Haig. I'm the CEO of One More Child. And first, I'd like to express my appreciation as well as introduce our speakers that are joining us today. We have Senator Colleen Burton, who represents Senate District 12, Representative Jennifer Kennedy, who represents House District 50, Sheriff Ron Cave, the Under-Sheriff for Leon County, and then Eric Dellenbach, who serves as the Governor's Liaison for Faith and Community, as well as the Executive Director of Hope, Florida. Here representing One More Child, we have Jody Domingue, our Vice President of Program Operations and Public Policy, Stacy Ham, an amazing leader and survivor mentor with One More Child, and Stephen Robert, our Chief Operating Officer. I'd also like to recognize former Senator Kelly Stargell for her work in this field over many years, for incredible advocates like Paul and Tony Azinger, as well as Scott and Amy Cadwell for joining us, and Alan Wickett. Alan, for your expertise and your leadership in this arena for many years now. The business of commercial sexual exploitation generates over $172 billion every year worldwide. At the center of these outrageous profits are the victimization of children, teenagers, and young adults. One More Child works directly with survivors of human trafficking. Our 24/7 mobile teams are there, and they consist of clinicians, advocates, and survivor mentors. These teams work with both victims and survivors on their journey to physical, mental, and emotional recovery. This past year, One More Child served over 1,000 individuals. We didn't accomplish this alone. We've done this alongside community organizations, alongside volunteers, alongside government leaders, as well as our law enforcement. The support of government leadership is critical for both funding as well as policy in the saving the lives of trafficking children. So I would like to include also Senator Burton and Representative Kennedy in this because of your leadership today. We are very grateful for you and what you're doing on behalf of vulnerable children. I'd also like to thank our law enforcement, like Under-Sheriff Ron Cave, and also express our appreciation for sheriffs across our communities, as well as local police departments that we've partnered with, both to restore victims as well as prosecute perpetrators. Human trafficking is not a problem to be managed. Human trafficking is an evil that must be eradicated. But in order to accomplish this goal, we are all going to have to come together, because we can accomplish it together what we cannot do individually. It matters because there is still one more. There is still one more victim that's paralyzed by their exploitation. There's one more child that is enduring and suffering daily abuse, and there is one more trafficking survivor in need of our support. We together can offer hope to each of these, and we can bring freedom to one more. With that, I'd like to invite Eric Dellenbach to come up and speak. He's an outstanding leader, and he's passionate about meeting the needs of the vulnerable all across the state of Florida. Eric?
Good morning. I think in moments like this, when you're talking about a topic with this kind of depth and importance, it can get very heavy. But the truth is, we should first celebrate that One More Child is in this space. We should celebrate that there are nonprofits and faith institutions across our state that are stepping into this gap at all times. And today I happen to be with one of my buddies. Back here, somewhere over this way. Dr. Haig, a couple buddies, but one back here. Dr. Haig has been just an absolute leader for our state. Some of you may or may not know, he spent almost 10 years on Florida's Faith and Community Council. I think he was elected as chairman for 1 year, and we got him to serve 3. And so you know those kind of things, and he's just been in every single gap, standing there for the most vulnerable. So we get along great, and I'm just in a position where when I look at this row of fighters, guys, we fight a lot, and we fight a lot of things, but few have the worth that this one has. This is a worthwhile fight. And so I just want to share a couple things with you. Over the past 6 months, many of you will know, that we fought pretty hard in this state to eliminate an amendment called Amendment 4. The reason I bring that up today is because these things are all intertwined, in my opinion. Like when Florida says that we want to be pro-life at all stages, we can't stop at just being poor legislation that stops life. We must also then stand in the gap for all life at all phases. Well, all life at all phases certainly includes the children that are entangled and wrapped up in trafficking. If someone says to me, I'm passionate about anti-trafficking, I would say, then you better be passionate about foster care. And you better be passionate about adoption, and you better be passionate about just caring for some new mamas. You know, one of the things we've recently talked about is that by something like Amendment 4 going down in our state, there'll be 40,000 new babies in our state because that amendment did not pass this year alone. So we, as a group, collectively, and along with One More Child, have to stand in that gap. There'll be more babies born with special needs into vulnerable homes that have been born in the past 50 years in the state of Florida. That should awaken something in us. And so my simple plea today is to look out to the faith institutions and the nonprofits of our state and say, guys, congratulations, great things are happening in Florida. Most of the nation wants to be like Florida. So let's lead again, and let's come out of every single place that we can in faith and nonprofit and stand in the gap for these vulnerable children. Let's start caring for these moms. Let's go deeper in the way that we serve them, and together we can separate this. The truth is, in Florida, and I've said this 100 times, we don't have a resource problem in Florida. We do sometimes have a connectivity problem. And one of the things that even as we sat last night, we're talking about today's events coming up, we talked about one of the things in Florida that we have to do better is the left hand talk to the right hand, unity amongst the nonprofits and faith institutions that are all fighting this fight. Because the truth is, 110,000 nonprofits in Florida, 20,000 faith institutions. Many of them are in this fight but don't know each other. And so I look forward to working with One More Child and Dr. Haig's leadership to walk through how we can unify as a state, how we can do more to stand in the gap for these most vulnerable, because he is right. We have got to move towards the eradication of trafficking. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. We appreciate your leadership and want to express our appreciation to Governor DeSantis and y'all's strong leadership on behalf of vulnerable families throughout the state of Florida. Next, I'd like to invite Senator Burton to be able to share a few words with us. Senator Burton, I know your work for children and your leadership, and she is a true leader for children and families throughout the state of Florida.
Thank you, Dr. Haig, and good morning, everybody. You know, when you prepare for a moment like this, you think about the enormous responsibility that you have to relay a message. And the message has already been relayed by, you know, Jerry came before me and certainly Dr. Haig, that in the state of Florida, we have children, we have girls, we have boys who are trafficked. We have children who are used by people to do them great, and they do them great harm. We're very, very fortunate that we have One More Child. We are blessed to have One More Child and other organizations in our state that work not just to protect those children, but when they are victims, to care for them. And I was thinking this morning as I was driving in, these children are somebody's daughter, somebody's son. They might be somebody's brother, somebody's sister. Each and every one of us is a son or daughter of somebody. We believe in the dignity of human life. We expect to be treated with dignity. It is our responsibility, and one of the greatest responsibilities we have as elected officials is to care for those who are vulnerable. It is our responsibility to work with organizations like One More Child and others across the state to build a sense of dignity, to build a place of dignity for all lives. And those children in our states, and some adults, they're adults. We talk about children, but we know they're One More Child. We know there are adults. Those humans, those people who are somebody's daughter and somebody's son, deserve our protection, deserve our concern, and deserve our support. I am so happy that I've gotten to know Dr. Haig. Over the years I've been in the legislature, and everybody at One More Child and other organizations across our state that work to protect lives. I commit to continue in that journey with them as long as I'm elected, and I will tell you, as long as I'm alive and can stand up for the dignity of every human life and to protect those who are being abused and used for the profit of others. So thank you, Dr. Haig. Thank you, One More Child, and everybody in this state who works to protect somebody's brother, somebody's sister born into this world who don't deserve the treatment that they are receiving. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Burton, for fighting for Florida's families. Next, I'd like to invite Representative Jennifer Kennedy to share with you. I've seen Representative Kennedy's passion and leadership on behalf of trafficking victims as well as vulnerable children and families prior to her legislative work. And now we're able to see it carried out through her legislative leadership. So thank you, Representative Kennedy.
Well, thank you so much, and thanks for the privilege of being here. You know, the Haigs have been friends of mine for, goodness, almost 20 years now. And it's been a tremendous privilege to watch their commitment. And, you know, it's a neat thing to walk these halls, to build relationships and friendships here and see how, as time passes, commitment to the work of One More Child remains. So I had tremendous admiration for my friend, Senator Kelly Stargell, who held the seat that I am in prior to me, and then Senator Burton. And it's such a joy and a privilege to be able to continue that. And then I see my legislative colleagues here with me, Representative Abbott, Representative Nix. This is an organization that is highly regarded in the legislature because they do good work and care very much about the people that they serve. Not credit for themselves, but the work of justice. Human trafficking is a horrific crime, not just in faraway places, but in our own communities. Florida ranks number 3 in the nation for calls to the nationwide hotline, and that just helps us to understand what a significant problem it is. 55% of trafficking victims met their trafficker online, and 40% of victims are actually familial. So sometimes even in their own families, children in the state of Florida are not safe, and that concerns all of us. As a legislature, we remain committed to the victims of trafficking, to bringing justice to the traffickers, and help to those who are harmed. We are so grateful to law enforcement who's here today and those all around the state of Florida who help and serve and who are focused on the victims. And again, we are grateful to One More Child and other organizations that lead this fight, working alongside us to help survivors. This is not a fight we are going to lose. There is too much at stake. And so we stand together in support of victims and in solving the scourge of the evil of human trafficking. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Kennedy. Under Sheriff Ron Cave is with us, and we are grateful for your support and for your fight and protection of the families and children right here in Leon County. But you also represent law enforcement all across our state, and we have incredible leaders. And that partnership with law enforcement is critical to the work that we do to be able to apprehend perpetrators as well as bring restorative services to the victims of human trafficking. Sheriff Cave?
Well, good morning, and thank you. We are here to represent not only Leon County, but Florida Sheriff's Association and the Florida Sheriffs throughout the state. This is a absolutely horrific crime, and I can tell you law enforcement throughout the state have gotten substantially more aggressive over the years in combating this crime. Just here in Leon County, when I was thinking about something to talk about today, about a month ago, we did an undercover operation right here in Leon County, just a few miles from here. And over a 2-day span, we had 80 perpetrators want to meet people under the age of 14 or sell their children to sex trafficking. And that's just here in Leon County, and it's throughout the state. I asked Detective Sierra Mercado to be here today, who is one of our detectives and is truly on the front lines. I can certainly speak about it, but I want you to hear directly from her how important this mission is, very briefly.
Hi, good morning. So, like you said, I'm Detective Mercado. I work for the Leon County Sheriff's Office in our Special Investigations Unit, which is our human trafficking unit. We investigate, sex trafficking crimes along with labor trafficking crimes, and a lot of people don't realize just how prevalent these crimes are in our community as well as just the state of Florida. And like you said, we run, part of our job is running different undercover operations to help us apprehend these perpetrators of these crimes, as well as to make contact with these victims that are a part of this world. I will say that these victims are special. The types of trauma that they go through is completely uncomparable, and we rely heavily on organizations such as yourselves to help us overcome. So part of the work that we do is investigating these crimes, but it's really getting them out of these situations and staying out of these situations and helping them through, to become a good citizen in society. So thank you.
And I'll just close in saying, at the Leon County Sheriff's Office, we have an affirmation that says all in. And essentially what that means is that we recognize in our community and certainly throughout the state, we can't have a substantial impact on crime without the impact and the assistance of everybody. And organizations such as this is so important because we recognize it's not just about arresting the people, but also addressing the long-term issues with the victims. And so we certainly appreciate all the work you do and certainly appreciate our legislature for aggressively tackling this issue. Thank you.
And let's express our appreciation to our law enforcement that's here with us today, as well as law enforcement across the state. Next, I'd like to introduce Jody Domain. Jody serves at One More Child as Vice President of Program Operations, as well as Public Policy. Jody's expertise, as well as her passion, leads both her and her teams to the front line of serving victims across the state, across the nation, and around the world. So, Jody, would you come and share with us, please?
Good morning. I would like to thank Senator Burton, Representative Kennedy, Under Sheriff Cave, Mr. Dellenbach, and the many representatives and partners here today. Human trafficking is not something that's happening in another state or a third world country. It is happening here every day to Florida residents and to Florida's children. And as you can see by the representation here today, it does not take just one organization or one legislator to eradicate this horrible crime. It takes all of us. It takes Florida lawmakers who are willing to say yes to provide support to One More Child so that we can meet victims right where they're at and provide life-saving services that will ultimately end the cycle of commercial sexual exploitation and human trafficking. It takes dedicated law enforcement like the Leon County Sheriff's Office, the Florida Sheriff's Association, and the newly appointed Attorney General Youthmeyer, who have demonstrated a great tenacity to ending this crime. And it takes Florida residents who are willing to ignore the myths and learn the signs of human trafficking, and who are willing to say yes and wrap around vulnerable populations by partnering with One More Child. Florida has long been recognized as a leader in this fight, but our job is nowhere near being done. It is time to lean in harder than ever before. And we do that by supporting key legislation like the Human Trafficking Reduction Act, which will increase penalties for first-time buyers to a third-degree felony. And it will declare that Florida is not a state where we tolerate the buying of human beings. We must allocate more resources to One More Child so that survivors actually have a hope for healing and that they are able to have dream-worthy lives by receiving evidence-based, victim-centered services that will change their trajectory. And finally, we must communicate loudly that we don't care if perpetrators are from the state of Florida, other states, or across the borders, that their evil crimes are not welcomed here in the state of Florida. That in Florida, we care deeply about our children and we will stop at nothing to protect them.
Finally, I'd like to introduce Stephen Robert, our Chief Operating Officer, who is pivotal in his work through his expertise, his innovative leadership, and his passion in not only fighting human trafficking, but caring for the vulnerable wherever they are. So Stephen, would you come and share with us, please?
We have heard the harsh reality about the evils of human trafficking, the pain it causes, the hurt it brings to children created in the image of God. We've also been reminded that human trafficking isn't confined to faraway places, that it takes place here in our neighborhoods, in our communities, often unrecognized and undetected. It's a problem. And it's a problem we're just not going to wishfully hope we mitigate. As Dr. Haig said, this is a heinous crime that we are determined to eradicate. But we can only do this when we all work together. You heard the powerful testimony from Stacy. Stacy, thank you. Thank you for your courage to share. You reminded us that hope is available, that hope, there is a path to hope, that there is a path to healing, and there is a path to a promising future. And we, all of us collectively, we have the ability to step up and step into the lives of the most vulnerable. That's exactly what One More Child has been doing. And that's what we're going to continue to do, because no child, as Dr. Haig said, no child should ever have to experience sexual exploitation. It takes all of us. It takes leaders, legislators, law enforcement, advocates, and organizations like One More Child working together. Working together to change the story of one more child, to change the story of one more teenager, to change the story of one more young adult. So let's keep going, let's keep fighting, and let's forge ahead. As has been said, this is a battle we can win, because this is a battle worth fighting for. We were there for Serene. One More Child worked with law enforcement and was on site during a hotel sting operation where 15 survivors were identified. Serene was one of those 15. She was trapped in exploitation, and she was conditioned to believe that her suffering was normal. Our team immediately began working with Serene to understand her situation and understand the exploitation she experienced. Through compassionate support, through the services that we provide, she began to reclaim her life. And she saw the evidence of trafficking throughout her experiences and identified as a survivor. Our expert team came alongside of her. As Stacy shared, we want to come alongside those victims, those survivors, and provide advocacy, legal assistance, and Christ-centered services. We walked with Serene throughout her journey, attending court hearings, advocating for her voice to be heard, not our voice, but for her voice to be heard, and offering spiritual encouragement that can only come from Jesus. Serene's newfound safety allowed her to focus on a new path forward, grounded and founded in freedom. And with this freedom, she now wants to advocate and to walk alongside other survivors that have been entrapped in the life of exploitation. Serene found strength and exchanged despair for hope. She stepped into a life of purpose and possibility. Serene's story has only just begun. And One More Child, we're committed, we're dedicated, and we're honored to walk alongside Serene in her journey for growth, healing, and freedom. Please join us, all of us, please join One More Child in this fight. It is a worthy fight that we must undertake. Together, we can bring hope and healing to One More Child. Thank you.
Thank you all for attending today. The work has just begun in this fight to bring an end to human trafficking.